that's a transliteration of a Hebrew word of Gehinnom, or Valley of Hinnom. And that's a valley on the south side of Jerusalem, where this became a way of talking about hell was actually hundreds of years before Jesus, where they would actually make sacrifices to the pagan god Molech. In fact, in Jeremiah 19, Jeremiah prophesies against this practice. He says they built places here for the worship of the god Baal, so that they could sacrifice their children as burnt offerings to him within the fire. Such sacrifices are something I never commanded them to make. They are something I never told them to do. Indeed, such a thing never entered my mind. So I, the Lord, say the time will soon come that the people will no longer call this place Topeth, or the Hinnom Valley, but they will call this valley the Valley of Slaughter. Sure enough, this curse by God on this valley turns it into a place where human excrement and rubbish were disposed of and burned. So it turned into the city dump. And in the intertestamental period, it became to be used symbolically as the place of divine punishment. You actually see references to this in some of the apocryphal books, where they reference Gehenna as a place of punishment.
So it started off as a place where people worshiping other gods would burn up their own children, and God's just like, okay, but right now it's a cute little valley.
So he's got this very clear picture for the people he's speaking to. It's interesting that we sometimes look at what Jesus says as timeless, and there's certainly some timeless things, but in a lot of ways he was leaning into the culture that he was in to communicate to the people that he was around. And I think that's really interesting.
In different places, Jesus and then other parts of the New Testament refer to this place of judgment as a place of outer darkness or separation. So bridge that for us. How can it be a burning place and then a dark place at the same time? Is Jesus confused? Are the New Testament writers contradicting each other or themselves?
That is really interesting, because there are different stories that Jesus tells that describe the bad place, whatever that is, in different ways. And yeah, some of them are outer darkness, and some of them are outer darkness where the fire is always burning, which seems a little bit fire. So now there's either we're trying to come up with a place that has fire that doesn't have actual light, or maybe these are metaphors. Right. We've got too many things. It's a place of gnashing, weeping and gnashing of teeth. You've got just different pictures of separation and or punishment. But again, Valley of Hinnom, real place, but he's not meaning, you're going to go down the street and take a left. He's saying, he's tapping into that cultural understanding that that's a symbol of God's going to make this right. If you sacrifice children on altars, this whole place is going to be just a dump, because that's just awful. And I want to make that clear. Right. And so there's the really clear thing, which is, this is bad, don't do this. And there's the really unclear thing, which is, we've got these kind of mixed metaphors that don't, I think they intentionally start the imagination, and then immediately you trip over it because it doesn't quite make sense, right? I think that's intentional. I don't think we're meant to really understand. He's not explaining exactly how this works.
He's not giving a systematic theology of what this place is like, but he's pointing heavily toward if you are this kind of a person, if you're living this kind of way, then this is the result. Whether it's looking at a woman improperly, or whether it's calling somebody a bad thing. And yeah, and that's different than Michelangelo's painting or Dante's description of this other place, for sure, where we're being tortured for eternity. My older brother wrestled with the idea that this was my brother who led me to the Lord. He wrestled with this idea, the traditional idea of hell. I think he was in his backyard grilling something, and he accidentally singed his hand a little bit. And it's incredible how much it hurts. A little burn hurts really bad, and it takes several days. I think of burning your tongue on something.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you're going to have 3 or 4 miserable days until that thing. And that and the idea that God is sending people there because they haven't become card-carrying Christians, and for him it was like, I'm not sure I can buy this. And that we've taken it beyond what the scriptures seem to be saying.
The thing about, well, if you haven't done this one thing, then I guess eternal conscious torment doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm not sure that's really the thing that Jesus teaches either. In Matthew 25, he talks about when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels are with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be assembled before him, and he will separate people from one another like a shepherd separates sheep from the goats. But what's really interesting here is what he judges people on. And again, he says, just as you did not do it from the least of these, you did not do it from me. And these will depart into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. I think in the evangelical tradition, really confident about, accept Jesus Christ and go to heaven, or sorry, you missed the boat.
Yeah.
And it's hell for you. And Jesus is talking about something completely different in this passage, which does not easily square with, I think, that theology.